Element, it's good to see you. 2021, we're here.
Hey, Parker, did you tell him about the thing?
I didn't know we were going to tell them about the thing.
You have to tell them about the thing. Come on.
We're doing a thing. That's right, gang. 2021, we're going to CIY. Registration started soon. Bring your friends. Tell your friends. Come on. Come over. We're going to CIY 2021. CIY. We're going. Element, my friends. It feels like it's been so long. Happy January, happy 2021, and we are about to begin a new series called The End of Me. It's all about Jesus teaching the Sermon on the Mount, where he introduces this upside down kingdom. It's a totally different way for people to live and a totally different way for people to view life. So today we're talking about the first thing that he said. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. It's a really powerful statement, and it really talks about and introduces this idea of when we come to the end of ourselves, when we get to our breaking point, when we hit ground zero. You know, when I'm thinking about the end of me, usually in January people do diets, right? You know, well, in 2018, I was doing Whole30. I don't know if you've heard of this, but it's 30 days of eating nothing but carrots, basically, and drinking water. We were going to Phoenix to learn from CCV. It's a church down there. So it was Josh, Christina, and I, and a few other people. And we were learning from their church and everything like that. But we were going out to eat in the evenings, you know, and we were going to these great pizza joints and going to these great, buffets and all these places. And I was doing this stinking diet that had me ordering carrots and water at all these places. So I was a little steamed, vegetables steamed. That kind of worked. Didn't even plan that. I was very angry every time I was eating a salad and I was watching them eat incredible deep dish pizza. So finally, I found out that In-N-Out burgers, okay, so you remember In-N-Out, it's like, maybe you've been there, maybe you haven't. Talk about that in a small group, whether In-N-Out or Jack in the Box is better if you've ever experienced either of those. Okay. In-N-Out had a Whole30 compliant order. It was very long. And you had to enter it in like a cheat code in a video game in order to get the correct burger that would go for the diet that I was on. This Whole30 thing. And so I wait forever in line. Like everybody got in line before me because I had to go to the bathroom, which they will say,
of course you do.
Because that's the running joke between Josh, Christina, and I is that I always have to go to the bathroom. I'm just a well-hydrated man, okay? And so I went to the bathroom, I came back and the line was out the door. So I get to the back of the line. They go eat because it's like, why would you wait for me? You don't want a cold burger, go for it. So I finally get to the front of the line. I'm starving. This is the first time on the trip I've had anything besides a sweet potato and carrots, okay? And I'm just like salivating, just chomping at the bit. I give this paragraph of an order, do this, but don't do that. Do this, but don't do that. I'll have this, but not that. And then they finally read it back to me, they got it, okay. I get the burger. It's about 30 minutes later. Everybody's done eating. I grab the burgers, I can't wait to eat them. I bring it outside. I sit at a table. We're surrounded by people. This was pre-COVID. There was probably 30 people sitting at outside tables. And I sat down and I opened the burger. It was made wrong. If I were to take a bite of that burger, it would mess up the previous 21 days of me trying to do this 30-day challenge. I got to the end of myself. I started yelling in public. Very loud. Things like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. This is so over. I am finished. People were looking at us. I didn't care. I wanted a burger. I had to throw away that burger. Otherwise, I would have completely wiped out 21 days of just eating carrots, just misery, right? I came to the end of myself. I've also come to the end of myself. If you've heard my story of being in Las Vegas, for example, and understanding that I never truly was following Jesus. I was just up on my high horse. I was just up in a tree watching Jesus do things, and I was never walking with him. Or like in 2018, I came to the end of myself when I really needed to get to know my weaknesses so that I could lead people in a better way. Enter a story from the Gospels. This is in Luke chapter 19. Jesus is coming through an area where there's a guy who's famous for being a jerk, basically. His name is Zacchaeus. He's the top of the pyramid scheme. He's getting a cut of everybody else's income, and he cheats, he lies, he steals. But he's the popular guy. He's wealthy. He's up on his high horse. He's the popular one. And so when he hears that another popular kid, it's like in school, the kid that moved from California, the popular kid gets all jealous and tries to outdo himself, but the California kid ultimately wins because he's got a style like nobody else, But so the popular guy's walking through town. So Zacchaeus is like, I gotta see this dude that's outdoing me, that's drawing a bigger crowd than I am. So he's trying to see. Unfortunately, he's a little short. So what he did was he climbed up into a tree to see Jesus so that he could size this guy up and say, okay, so if he's getting all this attention, how does that compare to me? But I think he was also curious because he'd probably heard stories about how this guy was changing people's lives, how he was saving people, how he was a revolutionary. And Jesus looks up at Zacchaeus and he goes, Zacchaeus, come down, I'm gonna hang out with you today. Imagine you were in the paparazzi crowd of Justin Bieber coming through town and he stopped, looked at you and said, we're chilling today, it's you and me. Zacchaeus was pumped. First of all, he's like, yeah, look at me. Of course he would pick me, I'm the popular guy, so I bet he's got a little puffed chest while he's heading home. But something happens. In the story, when you read it, it seems like it happens right away, but it's kind of like when you're on a road trip and you're telling the story of the road trip. You're like, well, then we went to Omaha and then we passed through Kansas City. Well, there was a lot of time and a lot of conversation between Omaha and Kansas City. And in this story, all of a sudden it says, Zacchaeus stood up. He must have had some great conversation with Jesus. He must have got to know Jesus. He must have given Jesus a try, given him a chance, seeing what he had to say. And Zacchaeus stands up and goes, listen, I'm gonna give away half of what I got. And anybody I've cheated, I'm going to repay them, and more than I cheated them for. And Jesus says, that's what I'm talking about. That's a changed heart. That is someone stepping into the kingdom of God. Salvation has come to this home. A change has come to this home. Zacchaeus was at the end of himself. Even though he had everything, even though he could sit up on his high horse, he was at the end of himself, looking for something different. And so that's my next question and my challenge for you. So let's keep it simple. And I want you to think of this. What's the high horse that you're sitting on while you're watching Jesus pass by? When I was in college, late in high school, I think I tried to play the church game a little bit, and I watched Jesus pass by while I sat on my high horse of popularity or image. It's like, oh, the cool kids don't go to church, The cool kids don't go to youth groups, so I'll dip in, I'll dip out, whatever. That was the high horse I was sitting on, and I was watching Jesus pass by. Finally, Jesus called me down. And maybe Jesus is in the process of calling you down too. Maybe he's meeting you where you're at. And so I gave Jesus a try. And so my next question is, what would happen if you gave Jesus a try? Seeing what he has to say. See if what he says actually works. So here's something that happened in my life. I was having these experiences where I was seeing when Jesus said something was going to hurt me, that had hurt me in my life. And when Jesus said something was going to be good for me, it was always good for me. This is about a year span that I was learning this. And when he said, this is going to give you peace, when I did those things, I got peace. I gave Jesus a try, and I saw that what he was saying lines up with how I was living and the effects that it had on my life. And a lot of things changed about me. I didn't care about my popularity anymore. I didn't care about my image. I cared about following Jesus because that's what was giving me true life. See, it's the difference between behavior and a true heart change. And that's the last thing I want to talk about. Zacchaeus had a true change in his heart. It wasn't just different behavior. He wasn't like, well, I'm not going to cheat people anymore. Thanks a lot, Jesus. He was like, I'm going to change the way I live. There's a difference between behavior and a heart change. It's like the difference between waiting until you're asked to do chores and then just doing the chores before anybody asks because it was the right thing to do. Behavior says, get the chores done. I'll wait until somebody asks me. Heart change says, I know my parents are having a rough year. My dad hasn't had a job for X amount of days. My mom's working nights. I could vacuum the carpet. That's a heart change, you see? That's much different from just changed behavior. That's a changed heart. So what is your life going to look like? What does it look like to come to the end of you? What does it look like for you to give Jesus a try? What does it look like for you to come down off your high horse? What high horse are you sitting on? Your popularity, your smarts, your degrees that you're going for, your colleges that you're trying to get into? What are you just sitting on and watching Jesus pass by? And then I want to know, I want you to think about, especially when we're entering into 2021, this whole new year, new you kind of stuff, you know, what are the things in your life that you know need to change? You've probably known all 2020 what needs to change when you start that 2021 Whole30 diet, life fix, new hobbies. I'm gonna learn guitar. I'm gonna do that. But seriously, soul deep, what needs to change? You probably know. Maybe it's like, you know, partying is leading you nowhere. You know the relationship you're in is toxic and pushing you away from all your friends. You know the decisions you're making and the people that you're surrounding yourself with is leading nowhere good. What are the things that need to change? Not just change behavior, but a changed heart. What would that look like for you in 2021? So tonight, in your small groups, I want you to dive into that stuff. Actually take a real look at those things. What would it look like to come down off your high horse, to give Jesus a try and to actually change? What would that look like for you?